Now, the heads of the governments of the United States, the United Arab Emirates, the State of Israel and India are all set to hold their very first virtual meeting today. Now, this is a grouping that's interestingly being described as the I2U2 grouping that was formed late last year. And this year, it will also witness its maiden virtual meeting. Now, amidst the American President Joe Biden's visit to West Asia is when this meeting is happening. The I2U2 is an initiative by the four countries' foreign ministers, and it aims at addressing issues of mutual interest and bolstering cooperation, while strengthening the strategic partnership between the new partners.
We'll continue to advance Israel's integration into the region, expand emerging forums and engagement like the new I2U2 summit, which will bring Israel, the United States, the UAE together, and India as well, to deepen our economic cooperation between the Middle East and the Indo-Pacific.
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid and Biden in Jerusalem will be joined virtually by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the United Arab Emirates President Mohammed bin Zayed for a meeting to discuss the food security crisis. And other areas of cooperation across different hemispheres are also likely to feature in the talks. The discussion of I2U2 leaders has received a lot of attention. Experts believe that this is a potential game changer and also has the potential to build on the Abraham Accords that binds the State of Israel with other countries in the region such as Jordan and the United Arab Emirates. The forum could also possibly expand regional partnership beyond West Asia. It also has the potential of addressing energy, tech and economic issues as well. Now, the I2U2 forum, which is also dubbed as the West Asian Quad, is being viewed as a US bid to increase its influence in the region to counter the growing Chinese influence as well. Now, experts also further point out that a small group of this kind could actually push for one of the critical economic corridors, which is the Arab Mediterranean corridor that will maximize the potential and also the profit of the participating nations. The I2U2 meeting comes at a time when two biggest exporters of grains, that is Russia and Ukraine, are engaged in a raging war that has raised the spectre of a big food crisis across continents. On the energy front as well, Moscow is responsible for exporting energy to a large part of Europe. The bloc, along with the United States, is now looking for other alternate sources of energy imports to cut its dependence on Russia in the long run, and to address the sharp rise in inflation owing to the rise of fuel prices as well. And this is something that is also likely to figure in the discussions today. And to give us more insights in terms of what, of course, is expected as the leaders of these four nations, of course, sit together virtually, we're joined in by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibbal, who's joining us live from New Delhi. Good morning to you, Siddhant. This is an interesting grouping of nations. It's been called I2U2. It's also being dubbed as the West Asia Quad. Tell us more as to what we can expect in the meeting today.
Well, two key focus will be there at the I2U2 summit, that is on food security and secondly on clean energy, clean technology. And on food security, one significant announcement that will be made will be that UAE is going to fund agriculture parks here in India. It will be funding to the tune of $2 billion. That is the biggest announcement that will be made later today. And the Israelis will provide clean technology regarding the agriculture parks, which will be set up. Remember that Israel has done a lot of work when it comes to agriculture, especially here in India. And the American private sector is also going to participate. So this essentially will be the big announcement. But the fact that this is the first time that the I2U2 leaders are going to meet means that leaders are going to talk about many issues. Essentially, food security is being dealt with in terms of the announcement of the establishment of agriculture parks here in India. But in terms of clean energy as well, how countries like Israel, UAE and India can collaborate. Israel and India are known as innovation hubs. So how it can be a win-win partnership will be a big and a significant development in terms of the outcomes. Now, we also need to understand the Quad, which is in the Indo-Pacific, and the West Asian Quad, how they can come together essentially with the help of India, because India is also part of the West Asian Quad, and also the Indo-Pacific Quad. So India will be keen that India gets the best of the two worlds, and essentially it will be an important occasion for India to also talk about that, how India is a crucial link between the Indo-Pacific and West Asia. India has good relationship with countries in both Indo-Pacific and West Asia.
Absolutely indeed. And also, Siddhant, one other interesting aspect in terms of what is being spoken about of this I2U2 grouping is that this will also go on to strengthen the Abraham Accords, something that is put the state of Israel and other nations within the Arab world, such as the United Arab Emirates and Jordan, much closer together. And this will also go on to cementify that relationship.
Well, I2U2 or West Asian Quad is a direct outcome of the Abraham Accords, because remember that it's only after normalization of relationship between Israel and UAE this grouping can emerge. We know that the first time this grouping was talked about was during the visit of the Indian External Affairs to Israel last year. When he visited Israel, he along with the then Israeli Foreign Minister, and of course the American and the UAE Foreign Minister joining in a virtual mode, had a conversation. And that time the key focus was talked about on innovation, on trade, on investment being the key focus areas. Later on, what happened was that all these four countries announced that they will have their Sherpas who will take forward the talks, the negotiations, and those negotiations have led to what is going to happen today in terms of the summit, and of course announcements in terms of the establishment of the agriculture park. Now, of course, I2U2 involves America, but remember, before I2U2, all these three countries, India, Israel, and UAE, have been working together in a trilateral format, especially on robotics.
Absolutely indeed, Siddhant. This, of course, is a very crucial meeting that will take place today, and will, of course, come back to you as more details emerge in this story. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.